Welcome to Change. I'm Bonnie Carlin from the Senior Cafe at the Barn in Schaumburg, and today we're going to be talking about scams in our area. We have some community representatives here with me, and we're going to get started in a minute, but first I'd like them to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Randy Kotecki from Schaumburg Township Senior Department.
I am Paula Diaz, Crime Prevention Specialist from the Schaumburg Police Department.
And I'm Barbara Adrianopoli from the Schaumburg Township District Library.
Well, thank you all for coming in today. I know that there's a lot of scams going around in our area that are perpetrated on seniors, thinking that maybe they are not as agile to prevent, things happening to them. What have you heard, or do you have any personal experience with anything happening?
I've had a personal experience where it was late at night and somebody rang my doorbell, and my husband and I had just gotten home, so I figured he was ringing the doorbell for me to let him in the front door because we came in through the garage. And when I opened the door, this gentleman asked me for if some person lived there, and I didn't recognize the name, and I'm like, who are you asking for? And he said it again, and I said no, and he was on his cell phone when I said no, and at that time somebody came from around the back of the house, and a white car pulled up in front of my house, and they both got in the car and left. And so I was thankful that we just got home in time, or maybe my house would have been broken into.
In other words, they were checking to see if you were home.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And then I had another time where it was on the computer, somebody ordered like $600. It was 3 different companies, and 2 of them were out of the country, and ordered some things and charged it to my account. I never checked my statements before, and then my son was after me to, Mom, you really have to check because this is really happening. So it really hit close to home.
Yeah. Barbara, have you had
now that you mention it, that just happened to us with a hotel bill. And it was from England, and I truly wished I had been in England, but we weren't. And now that you think of it, yes, one of the things is to check your bills. Because I just usually pay and not think.
Don't think about it,
And I had an email from a friend of mine asking for money because she went to England, and apparently there was some disaster, and she needed, like, I don't know if it was like $1,500 to get her out of a jam so she could come back here. And I thought that was awfully suspicious, because I think we had seen her, a couple days before, and we didn't think she was going out of the country. Usually she takes a lot of trips in the States. So I tried to get in contact with her to let her know, ask her if there was anything going on with her email. And apparently somebody had captured her whole email list and was trying to solicit all of her friends to send her money.
I got that one.
Did you too? Oh,
yes,
my goodness.
I got that one.
The same request?
Yeah.
You have the same request from the same person,
Paula, I heard there's a scam going around too about someone calling an elderly person and telling them that they're the grandson or
the grandparent scam. What
happens with that?
Well, it's kind of a takeoff or a part of the phone scams that we hear a lot of. They call it the grandparent scam, where they usually call an elderly parent or grandparent or an elderly person and pose as the grandchild. They don't give their name. They just say, such and such a name, do you know who I am? And they wait for the elderly person to provide a name. And then usually they're in Canada or some other place, and they need money. They're in jail, or they got a ticket whatever the case may be, but it's to wire money. That's the goal, is to wire money. And they will call continuously, you know, after getting maybe $1,500 or $2,000, they'll call back and say, well, I need some more for an attorney. But the whole, you know, premise is to get as much cash wired to them as possible. And with those, once you wire money out, unfortunately, the money's gone.
There's no way to trace it then.
No.
Oh, it's a shame.
Yeah, so that's it's just another type of phone scam, which we hear a lot of.
And I also heard about people posing as utility workers.
Yeah, some crimes are more seasonal. The utility, the solicitor, what we call the goose burglary, which is kind of very similar to what you experienced, where they work in groups. One will distract the homeowner, and the other offender will go around the building and try to get into the home. And what they're looking for is valuables or cash. And most of those crimes, they're targeted towards seniors, and the reason being is because seniors tend to have more disposable, the valuables are, they can grab them, and then what they do is they pawn them for money. But they're looking for cash, and they're looking for jewelry, which unfortunately is a terrible offense to, to a senior, to anybody for that matter. So, but yeah.
That happened to one of my friends, and they took a coin collection of her husband, and that was the only thing he had from his father. And his father died when he was like 8 years old. And that, so the money wasn't. It was this was the only thing he had that his dad left for him.
Right. They're looking for jewelry. Unfortunately, it's something that's very personal to that person, and that's why they keep it stored away. And that's the really sad part about that type of crime. But utility, the goose burglaries usually occur more in the warmer months, and the door-to-door, people, the utility people posing as utility workers, and then what the goal is to break into the home and steal valuables.
Right.
And some of the other scams are when a person receives
a sweepstakes?
A sweepstake check in the mail.
Yes.
And, deposits it in their bank. And even though we've talked to some of the local banks, and they're telling them this really doesn't look real, but the person doesn't believe that it's not real because they just won, $2,000, $5,000, and they end up depositing it and find out that it was a scam, and now that money was taken out of their account, and they're at a loss.
Oh my!
Not only do they lose the money because the check is not a valid check, which takes a while to be able. The banks, it takes a while because it goes through their computers, and until they get a hit, to the bank, it's still not a counterfeit check. So it could take days, weeks to find out, to verify that the check is a bogus check.
In the interim, do they ask you for money? To send it back to them, or they don't?
With the sweepstakes scams, what they do is they get it in the mail, and then what they say is, well, it could be that they've won, $1 million, but they have to send a check for taxes or fees, some kind of right, and so they end up sending, maybe $2,000 or whatever the amount is for these taxes. That's a valid check, of course. That comes out of your checking account. But then when you deposit that so-called $2 million sweepstakes check, and you think you have all this money, then you get a call from the bank maybe a week later that not only is the check not good, and you're not going to have the funds available, but now you have to pay a bank fee for depositing a bogus check. So you're out the money that you sent as well as fees that the bank may charge.
Wow. Well, that's really an eye-opener on all these scams in our neighborhood. We're going to have to take a break right now, but stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Change. We're talking about scams today with our community reps, and we've reviewed the type of scams that are happening in our community on the internet, on the phones, and right now we're looking for a solution. So has anybody figured out what we can do to stop this?
Well, it's all about prevention. I think, and we, all of us, work with together. We have a local support group that shares information and tries to, assist any organization that needs any help. At one of our meetings, we had actually the banks come in and visit with us and talk about some of the things that they do. The banks are very interested in helping out when they can, which is wonderful, and that helps a lot. Sometimes they notice an unusual amount of activity with a senior citizen where they're taking out large amounts of money frequently.
Yeah.
They'll notify the police department, or they'll notify maybe a family member, I believe they had said. But prevention is the most important thing. If you're getting harassed on the phone where they're asking for personal information, asking for any kind of money, hang up. You can notify the police department so that we are aware of some of the scams going around the area. And these are not just isolated to Schaumburg. These are, problems that occur all over the country. But it's really good to notify the police department just so that the police departments are aware of some of the scams occurring in their towns. So, but with telephone scams, the best thing to do is just to hang up. Right. There's really not much more you can do besides, just hanging up on them. If it becomes a big problem, you may have to change your phone number.
And what if somebody calls you and asks you to call them back, leaves a message or something? What are the implications of that?
Well, there's different types of phone scams, and one of them could be, I actually got a call from somebody in the community where they had received a voicemail message, and they wanted them to call them back where they could win some money. And it ended up being a very unfamiliar area code, which alerted this person. And so we checked it out, and it was actually a Jamaican area code. So as with anything, if they're asking for any kind of information, there's a difference between somebody calling you asking for personal information, which is different from you actually calling your bank or your credit card company or whatever, and then providing personal information. Somebody calls you up, that should just send you a flag right there. Yeah.
Has anybody else, like Caretakers, had problems, with their parents being scammed or? We get calls from the seniors themselves. We get calls from family members if they notice a problem, which is wonderful. Because to me, that means that the family is watching over their parents or the elderly, and they're taking an interest in what's going on with their lives.
I remember one time I was in the bank in the safety deposit area, and a grandchild of one of the ladies who was on my Homebound list was saying, Grandma wanted me to pick something out of, he was talking to the bank person out of this safety deposit box. And I just said, I know the lady, I know about the son. I would call the home prior to ever letting him in there because the young man had a drug problem, and I knew what the grandmother had gone through with him. So I think if like all of us are the resource, support our seniors, the township, the police department, the library. So if you have a problem, or you get a call or you won some money, check it out. And I know at our reference desk, we've had a number of people, I won this and everything, so they want to know the company. Well, we work with them and say, this doesn't exist, So we're here to help.
Yeah.
And I think, too, one of the problems is that seniors generally are so trusting.
Yes.
And they want to help so much that they can't really believe that somebody would scam them,
Right.
Because they're a good person, you know. And so we just have to educate and keep reiterating what to do and what not to do.
That's true. And also, I guess, if they are homebound, they're kind of lonely. And, you know, somebody calls them, it's sort of an interaction with
Absolutely.
them. You know, that's rough, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
So are there any particular scams that are in the community right now that we need to be aware of?
I think there's always going to be scams, unfortunately. Some things to really watch out for are, you know, the phone scams. I think is caused problems for many different communities. That's probably a very big problem. I know if everybody goes through their mail on a given day or, you know, through the week, they're going to receive some kind of sweepstakes. You know, I think it's anything where people are told to give money. It could even be a charity, which, you know, that could be a problem in itself too.
Yeah.
And now with the nice weather coming,
that's
you know, we
see the
have
utility.
to warn them about the utility,
Yes.
or you know that if somebody wants to take you in the backyard to measure your lot or your for fence or cut down a tree, and you haven't called the person, just go in the house or stay in the house.
And also construction companies that come to visit you that want to do work.
Those are the repair scams.
The repairs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another one, right?
Any time, those are, in the warmer weather, you're going to start seeing a lot more. But anytime somebody comes to your door and you haven't invited them over or you're not familiar with who they are, you can contact the police department and they can have somebody check it out. So that's very important, I think, to really be aware of who's at your door.
Right.
Right. And I know that if a utility person comes, they should
IDs.
have like their, you know, ID on them. And also, you know, if you look out the window and there's no truck there, you know, what do they do with their truck?
Right.
You know, that might not be, you know, somebody you think it may be.
If you haven't set up an appointment, or if you haven't been notified of an appointment and they show up, I think, in my opinion, the best thing to do is to contact the utility company to verify, because anybody can have a white van, and anybody can dress up with a vest, and that kind of gives the impression that they are who they say they are. But there's something to be said about actually calling up the company to verify.
Yes.
And I think with our weather, what we should be aware of is all of the scam artists that come around and say, oh, I see that you have hail damage.
Oh, my
or
goodness.
something like that. They collect a down payment and then they're gone. I know in our area in the last couple of years, so many people gave these scam artists money and
they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Didn't have the work done.
And so's the money.
And I'm sure the insurance company didn't, you know, take kindly to that either.
No, I'm sure they're not happy.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about what's happening in our community, and we're going to have to take a break right now, but we'll be right back in a moment. Okay, now that we're back, we're going to talk about a solution for the scams that are happening in our area. And we have some very important information on a seminar that's coming up very shortly. Paula, do you have the information on that?
Yes, I do. On Wednesday, May 16th, there will be 2 fraud prevention presentations. And it's regarding senior scams, but it's not just for seniors. I think it's so important for any caregivers or family members of seniors to attend these either one of the presentations. There's one offered in the morning and one in the evening. And it would be a great opportunity for family members, caregivers to find out about some of the scams that could be affecting their family members. So it's open to the public. It's you know, for seniors and for family members, caregivers. But there's going to be 2 presentations on the 16th. One will be in the morning at 11 o'clock, and that will be held at the Prairie Center of the Arts. And there's a parking lot, I believe, on the north side of the building. Is it north side? So we want people to park in that area. It's going to be about an hour presentation. They're both free. Western Union, the Director of Consumer Protection for Western Union, will be the presenter. And she is phenomenal. This is what she does. So she's going to talk about all different types of scams that affect the elderly. And
if you want some information on the seminar, is there a number you can call?
They can contact me. My phone number is 847-348-7274. The information will be in the papers. We have been trying to get this out as much as possible. And then there will be an evening presentation at the Schaumburg Township Library.
Right. It'll be at 7 o'clock, and it'll be in the Rasmussen room. You just come to the library, and we can show you, when you come, where to go to the room that it's going to be presented. Also, we want to make sure that people know this lady's going to talk about what kind of scams are happening, that once you send money and you don't get it back. It's just like she said, you don't get it back. So it's all of our our organizations. It's called the Schaumburg Supports Group, and the township, the police department, the community nutrition site, the barn, the library, and a number of organizations are bringing this to you because it is so serious.
Right. It is. It's all about prevention.
And is there a number they can call at the library if they need information?
That's good. 847-923-3386 is my direct line. Or you can just call the library at 847-985-4000 and ask for information.
Good. And Randy, will your organization be involved in the presentations too? Or?
Yes, they will. And if they need additional information, they can also call the township at 847-884-0030 and ask for the senior department or the disability department, and we'll be glad to instruct them on parking and the times and everything that pertains to the seminar.
I saw that you already have it in your deaf newsletter as well as your disabilities newsletter.
Yes, and we also have it posted on our website for our newsletter of the township.
Is it necessary to register to come, or can you just walk in?
You can just walk in.
Okay.
No registrations needed.
And there is transportation available. I know the Schaumburg Township bus is available. You have to call.
Is that only for the morning presentation?
Just for the morning presentation. Yeah. Usually the senior, the elderly really like to go to the morning.
Right.
You know, it's difficult to get to the evening presentation. So Dial-A-Ride has offered to transport to this event. And I believe that's just $1 to sign up. And their phone number is 847-352-8097, or the township. Should I give this number here? Okay, 847-882-1929.
And I should point out, in order to use the Schaumburg Township buses, you have to be registered with the bus service.
So if you're not, the Dial-A-Ride is a different alternative.
And Karen from the barn, she has some kind of program with the village of Schaumburg to allow some rides, some help with rides on this presentation. So call the barn at 847-524-7496 and ask Karen about that if you need help financing the trip.
That's great. Besides our seminar, we're having our Flag Day presentation come up very shortly too, and the whole community is involved in that as well. That's on June 14th, and that's going to be on the grounds of the Prairie Arts Center as well. The tickets are on sale at the barn right now for $4, and I know everybody's anxious to to attend. We've had so much fun with it. And
Yes.
I know you've all been, involved in that too, as well as protecting the community. We're also, offering up a patriotic day for our seniors to attend. So if you're interested in that, you can call the barn. Barbie gave the number, 847-524-7496. And we're going to have a lot of food and entertainment, bingo, whatever.
So don't forget the bingo.
That's right, we can't forget the bingo.
Right.
And I want to thank all of you for coming down. You certainly give us a lot of great information and things to think about. And we want to invite the seniors as well as all the general community out there to come to the scam seminar on May 16th, either one, the morning or the afternoon session, because, it will make you aware and be ready for anything that comes your way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.